Okay, let's set the scene. It's Giza, December 2002. Imagine the atmosphere inside the Nazlet Al-Saman police station. It's thick with tension. Not just the usual station buzz, but something else. Conflicting reports, stories that just don't add up. Then an elderly woman comes rushing in. She's hysterical. She claims her son, Fayez, was kidnapped, snatched from Sohag, dragged all the way here to Giza, and then tortured. Viciously tortured, she says. And she names names. Two local brothers, Ali and Ahmed Sabir.
Right, and that's a serious accusation. Kidnapping, torture, the police have to take it seriously, but then they run the name, Fayez. And the story starts to unravel very quickly. Turns out this Fayez isn't exactly an innocent victim. He's known, widely known, as a Dajjal. That's basically a charlatan, a con artist. He has a history of fraud, elaborate schemes, even practicing what they call Dajjal and Shawaza sorcery, essentially to manipulate people. A career con man.
Wow. Okay, so definitely not the simple victim his mother portrayed. But before the police can even really process that twist, the Sabir brothers themselves walk in, Ali and Ahmed, and they completely deny the kidnapping story, vehemently.
Yeah, they insist Fayez is a liar, a total fraud, which, okay, aligns with what the police are finding. But then they drop their own bombshell, a chilling one.
What's that?
Their father, Sabir, he's missing, has been for 4 days, vanished without a trace. And they are absolutely convinced Fayez is behind it. They point to this really bitter personal conflict that had apparently been escalating.
So let me get this straight. We have a con man claiming he was kidnapped and tortured, while the accused kidnappers say their father is missing and he's the one responsible.
Exactly. It's a tangled mess right from the start. A liar claiming victimhood and a genuine missing person case potentially linked to him. So that's our deep dive for today. We need to sift through all these layers, the accusations, the denials, the talk of sorcery, the sheer manipulation, to uncover the twisted truth behind the relationship connecting Fayez, the swindler, and Sabir, the missing man. Because whatever really happened, you get the feeling it's buried much deeper than any imaginary treasure. To really understand this crime, you first need to grasp the sheer audacity, the arrogance of Mohammed Fayez. He was 32, and by all accounts, a masterful actor, a manipulator. His whole game was psychological, built around this claim of having extraordinary powers, specifically commanding jinn spirits, basically to reveal hidden ancient treasures, tombs, artifacts. He operated between Sohag and Giza, especially Nazlet al-Saman, near the pyramids, prime territory for that kind of story.
And the details about his personal life are just staggering.
Yeah.
They really highlight his mindset, don't they? We're talking about a guy constantly marrying and divorcing, using women like pawns in his games. And the most unbelievable part, he was apparently married to 2 biological sisters at the same time, had children with both of them.
Yeah.
I mean, that level of just contempt for basic social rules, for law, for morality.
Yeah.
It says so much.
It really does. When someone treats something as fundamental as marriage with that kind of disdain, it shows you there are probably no lines they won't cross to get what they want. And for Fayez, what he wanted, above all else, was control. Absolute control.
So how does Sabir, the missing father, fit into this picture? How did he become Fayez's target?
Well, the connection wasn't new. Fayez actually knew Sabir through his eldest son. They'd known each other for about 12 years, moved in similar circles. And interestingly, sources mention that Sabir himself had a bit of a reputation for frequent marriages, much like Fayez. A strange parallel. But things turned sour. Really sour, when Fayez married Sabir's stepdaughter, Amina. She was 25.
Ah. So Fayez marries into the family, essentially. He took her back to Sohag with him, right? But she didn't stay long.
No. Once Amina got to Sohag and saw the reality, the extent of his other wives, including the 2 sisters living practically side by side, she couldn't handle it. She fled. Ran straight back to Giza, back to her stepfather Sabir's house, seeking refuge.
And that must have been the flashpoint, Sabir getting involved directly.
Exactly. He didn't just shelter her, he actively intervened. And this is where Sabir maybe unknowingly sealed his own fate. He took Amina's side and basically told Fayez, if you want her back, you need to provide guarantees. Financial guarantees, specific things, promissory notes, a certain amount of gold to ensure Amina's rights and security.
Wait a minute, promissory notes, wasn't that Fayez's own tactic to control the women he married?
Precisely. That was his signature move. He'd force women to write him promissory notes, basically trapping them financially, preventing them from leaving or claiming anything. So for Sabir to demand the same thing from Fayez, it wasn't just a financial demand. It was turning Fayez's own weapon against him. It was a public challenge, a deep humiliation. It showed Fayez wasn't all-powerful.
It struck right at his ego, his sense of absolute authority. So the motive crystallizes. It wasn't really about Amina anymore or even the gold. It was about the fact that Sabir, another man, had dared to defy him, especially over a woman.
Yes. In Fayez's warped view, no woman should ever leave him, and certainly no man should successfully stand up to him on behalf of a woman. Sabir had crossed an unforgivable line. Fayez decided he had to be removed. Permanently. Made an example of. Now Fayez needed a plan. Something clever. Something that wouldn't trace back to him. He had to kill Sabir, dispose of the body secretly, and ideally create a reason for Sabir to just disappear.
And he fell back on his old tricks, didn't he? The treasure hunt.
Exactly. The kanaz, the staged treasure hunt, it was the perfect cover. He realized he could use the promise of riches, his standard con, to lure Sabir into a trap, essentially dig his own grave.
But he couldn't just dig a hole anywhere. He needed a location and someone to facilitate it without asking too many questions. He needed a patsy.
Right, and he found the perfect candidate, Saad Offman, a 37-year-old electrician living in Nazlet al-Saman. The reports describe Syed as, well, poor, perhaps a bit naive or susceptible to superstition, and crucially, desperate for money, eager for a quick way out of poverty. Fayez knew Syed, knew his house was old, potentially valuable land, which added to the plausibility, and knew Syed could be easily manipulated. The house itself was key, private, secluded, a place Fayez was familiar with.
So he approaches Syed with the classic pitch. There's ancient treasure buried right under your floorboards. Let me help you get it. We'll split the profits.
Yep. But he layered it, playing on Syed's vulnerabilities. First, the legal threat. He stressed absolute secrecy. This digging, highly illegal. If anyone finds out, we both go to jail. Big time. That plants the fear of authority. Then the superstition. We have to be careful. The eye, bad luck, envy, it could ruin everything, make the treasure vanish. That plays on ignorance. And to make it all seem legitimate, he brought in his accomplice, Abdul Qadir.
Ah, the assistant.
Yeah, presented him as his trusted helper, the guy who'd been with him on all his previous, supposedly successful treasure extractions, which were, of course, completely fictional.
It's quite the performance. He's mixing the promise of supernatural help to Jinn finding gold with these weirdly specific ritualistic demands, like needing special incense, bake hour, and even strange foods for the process.
Right. It all adds to the mystique, makes Syed feel like he's part of something secret, powerful, and maybe a bit scary. It primes him to accept unusual events without question.
Okay, so the trap is meticulously set. The day arrives. The day they're supposed to open the treasure.
Yeah.
And Fayez makes his final move to bring the target into the picture.
Yes. He meets with Sabir first, away from Syed's house. And somehow, despite everything that had happened with Amina, despite the threats, Fayez convinces Sabir to come to Syed's house.
What did he promise him?
A piece of the action, a cut of the treasure they were supposedly about to unearth. He appealed directly to Sabir's greed. So try to imagine the scene inside Syed Offman's house that night. The air must have been electric. You've got Syed, probably trembling with a mix of fear and excitement, dreaming of riches. You've got Fayez and Abdul Qadir coolly moving through the steps of their murderous plan. And then there's Sabir, the target, walking right into it. Despite knowing Fayez was bad news, the lure of easy money was apparently too strong.
So the four of them, Fayez, his accomplice Abdul Qadir, the homeowner Syed, and the victim Sabir, they actually start digging. Inside the house. In the dark. Syed must have been surprised to see Sabir there.
He was. But Fayez had a smooth explanation ready. Oh, Sabir, he's our partner. He's handling the logistics, selling the artifacts once we find them. Keep Syed focused on the goal.
They keep digging. How deep did they go?
About 2 meters. Think about that. 6-7 feet down. It's a proper pit by then. Deep, dark, confined. Down that hole, you're isolated, dependent on who's up top. Fayez had created the perfect kill zone. It was time.
He makes his move, but subtly. Right, not raising alarm.
Very subtly. He turns to Syed. Say, can you go fetch a lamp? It's getting too dark down here. We need better light to see the gold.
A plausible request.
Completely. Syed, still believing the treasure hunt is real, climbs out of the hole and goes off to find a lamp. He's gone for maybe 10 minutes.
10 minutes. And while he's gone,
Fayez doesn't waste a second. He and Abdul Qadir are alone in the pit with Sabir. Fayez picks up the tool they'd been using to dig a heavy pickaxe, a fass. He swings it hard, strikes Sabir on the head once. It's instant. Fatal.
oh my God.
And then they just push the body down into the bottom of the pit they just dug.
So when Syed comes back, holding a lamp, expecting to see gold, What does he find?
He finds Fayez and Abdul-Qadir frantically shoveling dirt back into the hole, filling it up as fast as they can.
And what did they tell him?
The lie. Quick, dismissive. Ah, bad luck. Treasure wasn't here after all. Must be in another room. Sabir. Oh, he just left. Had to rush off, handle some urgent business.
Just like that. Sabir just left. In the middle of digging for treasure.
That's the story they sold him. And Syed, maybe confused, maybe scared, maybe still hoping for treasure elsewhere. He doesn't push it.
And then comes the final instruction, the cover-up.
Yes. Fayez gives Syed a strict order. You need to fill this hole completely, right now, and pave over it. Yablat al-Hufa, make it look like nothing ever happened, and the threat. If anyone sees this digging, suspects anything about antiquities, we all go to jail, remember. He uses Syed's fear of prison, the fear he planted to ensure the grave stays hidden.
Fayez must have felt untouchable then. He flees back to Sohag, leaving the body buried under Syed's floor. Secret safe.
He certainly acted like it, because just 2 days later, what happens? Sabir's sons, Ali and Ahmed, who are now frantic about their missing father, track Fayez down in Sohag. And what do they find him doing?
Don't tell me.
Celebrating. He's having a party for a new marriage he just contracted. The sheer nerve.
That must have been the final confirmation for the sons, that level of callousness.
Absolutely. It screamed guilt. Fayez must have sensed their suspicion, realized they weren't buying the innocent act. The net felt like it was closing in, so he panics, rushes back to Giza, and that's when he plays his final desperate card, telling his mother to go to the police with that fabricated story about him being kidnapped and tortured by the Sabir brothers.
Ah, the preemptive strike. Trying to frame them before they could accuse him.
Exactly, trying to neutralize the threat, a classic manipulator's move.
But the entire scheme depended on one weak link, Said Hoffman, the terrified electrician.
And Syed was cracking. But interestingly, the sources suggest it wasn't necessarily guilt over a murder he didn't directly witness. It was overwhelming fear. Fear about the illegal digging he knew he'd participated in. Fear about Sabir's bizarre disappearance right after being in his house. The whole thing felt wrong. Dangerous.
The pressure became too much.
Too much. That fear finally trumped his greed, and maybe even his fear of Fayez. Syed walked into the Nazlet al-Saman police station, and he confessed. Not to murder, but to the whole strange story. The treasure hunt, the digging, Fayez, Abdul-Qadir, Sabir being there, and then suddenly not being there, the hole being filled, everything.
That must have been the key the police needed, Syed's testimony.
It was the breakthrough. Syed could pinpoint the exact location inside his own house where they had dug and refilled the hole. Police secured the house immediately, brought in crews, started excavating right where Syed indicated. They dug down 1 meter, 2 meters, and there he was, Sabir's body. Buried exactly as the sequence of events suggested. The autopsy confirmed it. A massive, fatal blow to the head, just as the logic of the confession implied.
So, with the body recovered, Syed's detailed account. The game was up for Fayez and Abdul-Qadir.
Completely. Confronted with the physical evidence, the eyewitness testimony about the digging, they broke. They confessed to the whole thing, admitted the treasure hunt, the gin, the incense, all of it. It was pure theater, a deadly play staged for one purpose only, to lure Sabir to that specific spot, kill him, and bury him where no one would ever look.
And the outcome for Fayez?
He was tried, convicted, and ultimately sentenced to execution for the premeditated murder of Sabir. You know, looking back at this case, it's such a stark illustration of how destructive personalities operate and, crucially, how they're enabled. You have Fayez, his overwhelming arrogance, his cruelty, his need for control, demonstrated so clearly in how he treated women, using those promissory notes like weapons. That toxic core found its ultimate target in Sabir, the man who dared to challenge him.
But Fayez couldn't have done it alone.
No. The actual execution of the plan relied entirely on the vulnerability of Syed Othman. His ignorance, yes, but mostly his deep-seated desperation for wealth. That blinding desire for a shortcut made him willing to participate in something shady, secret, and ultimately deadly right inside his own home. He enabled the crime through his own weakness.
It really is baffling, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fayez's charisma, or whatever it was, how he managed, time and again, to convince people, not just Syed, but multiple women, even Sabir himself to some extent, to trust him, to believe his outlandish stories, despite his reputation. It suggests he had this unnerving ability to zero in on people's deepest desires and fears and exploit them.
And that brings us to maybe the most sobering point the sources highlight. Think about the victim, Sabir. He knew Fayez. He knew what kind of person he was: manipulative, disrespectful, someone who had just profoundly wronged his family by his treatment of Amina.
Right, he had every reason to stay away.
Every reason. Yet he still went to Syed's house that night. Why? Because Fayez dangled the possibility of easy money, of treasure. It confirms that old, cynical saying, doesn't it? Where there's a Nasab, a con man, you'll almost always find a Tama, a greedy person, ready to be conned. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What is that fundamental human weakness, that powerful longing for something for nothing, that allows skilled fraudsters like Fayez to succeed again and again? What vulnerability are they tapping into?